Hey listeners, this is Peter, and welcome back to the History Shorts. This humble show is brought to you by the Podcast Republic, your ultimate listening app. Discover and subscribe to thousands of podcasts from around the globe, yours truly included, and all in one place. Download Podcast Republic now, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Today on History Shorts. In the annals of American conservation, the National Park Service is widely celebrated for its stewardship of the country's national treasures, from the geysers of Yellowstone to the rugged peaks of the Grand Tetons. Yet beneath the tranquil veneer of park rangers guiding visitors along winding trails and patrolling forests for poachers lies a more obscure, clandestine layer of the service's history: the existence and operations of the National Park Service's Intelligence and Special Branch, also referred to as ISB, a unit tasked not with guiding tourists, but with protecting the parks and the nation from threats both criminal and subversive. While very little is known outside specialized historical circles, the ISB and its special agents played a critical, sometimes shadowy role in the intersection of environmental stewardship, law enforcement, and national security during the 20th century. And here is the rest of that story.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941,
it's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
The origins of the ISB, or the National Park Service's Intelligence and Special Branch, trace back to the late 1920s and early 1930s, a period in which the United States was undergoing profound social, economic, and political transformation. The Great Depression had unleashed waves of migration, social unrest, and opportunistic criminality. Within the parks themselves, which by then encompassed dozens of federally protected sites, there was a growing awareness that ordinary ranger duties, preventing poaching, patrolling boundaries, and maintaining infrastructure, were insufficient to address emerging threats. Criminal networks exploited the remote, often inaccessible terrain of national parks to traffic goods, smuggle contraband, and evade federal law enforcement. Poachers targeted game animals with increasing audacity, while timber and mineral poaching threatened protective resources. In response, the National Park Service, in coordination with the Department of the Interior, established a specialized investigative branch in 1934. The Intelligence and Special Branch. The ISB's mandate was dual: to enforce federal regulations within the parks and to monitor and neutralize threats that had broader implications for national security. Unlike ordinary rangers, ISB agents were trained in investigative techniques, surveillance, and clandestine operations. Many were recruited from the ranks of federal law enforcement agencies, including the U.S. Secret Service and the Bureau of Investigation, the precursor to the FBI. Their work required not only knowledge of environmental law and park geography, but also skills in observation, deduction, and the occasional high-risk confrontation. The ISB's early years were marked by a mixture of bureaucratic suspicion and cautious experimentation. Some park superintendents questioned the need for an intelligence arm, viewing it as an unnecessary militarization of conservation. Yet the realities of the era quickly proved the ISB's value. During the 1930s, agents infiltrated smuggling rings operating alongside park perimeters. They intercepted illegal timber shipments and collaborated with federal authorities to prosecute high-profile poachers who had previously operated with impunity. Cases like the dismantling of a syndicate illegally exporting Yellowstone bison pelts became legendary among ISB operatives. World events soon expanded the ISB's powers beyond environmental crime. The outbreak of World War II heightened concerns about sabotage, espionage, and the use of remote American landscapes by foreign agents. The National Park Service, traditionally a civilian agency, became a very unlikely player in wartime intelligence operations. The ISB agents monitored strategic sites, including parks with military significance, such as Yellowstone, which contained critical hydroelectric and transportation infrastructure, and Glacier National Park, which was proximate to military training grounds. The role encompassed surveillance for potential sabotage, securing sensitive resources, and being a liaison with the FBI and military intelligence units. Some agents were tasked with counterintelligence duties, monitoring for suspected enemy sympathizers among visitors and local populations. The operational culture of the ISB was very distinctive. Agents were highly autonomous, operating in vast, remote terrains that often lacked reliable communication or immediate backup. Success required resourcefulness, physical endurance, and a keen understanding of both human behavior and the natural terrain. Many operatives became adept at tracking, bushcraft, and long-term surveillance, blending traditional ranger skills with the investigative techniques more typical of urban law enforcement. Their work was often dangerous, with agents confronting armed poachers, unscrupulous miners, and occasionally, in wartime, actual suspected spies. Yet their successes were very rarely publicized, both to protect ongoing operations and to maintain the public image of the National Park Service as a serene steward of nature, rather than a paramilitary organization. One of the ISB's more notable achievements occurred during the late 1940s, following World War II. Reports emerged of organized groups using national parks in the West as hideouts while engaging in illegal gambling, trafficking, and black market trade. ISB agents, leveraging their experience in surveillance and coordination with other federal agencies, systematically dismantled these networks. Their methods often involved extended undercover operations, including agents posing as hunters, trappers, or park laborers to infiltrate criminal groups. These operations not only protected park resources, but also reinforced the federal government's broader law enforcement objectives in the post-war era. The secrecy surrounding the ISB persisted into the Cold War. During the 1950s and 60s, fears of communist infiltration and domestic subversion prompted federal agencies to maintain vigilance across the country, including in remote national parks. The ISB's mandate slightly expanded to include monitoring for potential extremist activity and ensuring that federally protected lands were not being used as training grounds for paramilitary or radical groups. These are all missions that very rarely entered the public eye, but did reflect the evolving understanding of national security, in which environmental and domestic law enforcement were increasingly intertwined. Despite its accomplishments, civil libertarians occasionally criticized its covert operations, raising concerns about surveillance, privacy, and the militarization of a very civilian agency. Incidents in which agents were accused of overstepping authority, such as warrantless surveillance or aggressive confrontation with visitors suspected of minor infractions, sparked debates within Congress and the Department of the Interior. Over time, the controversies, coupled with the changing landscape of federal law enforcement and the rise of specialized agencies like the FBI or DEA, contributed to the gradual absorption of the ISB functions into broader federal structures, though its legacy persisted in the National Park Service's Law Enforcement Ranger Program and its ongoing coordination with federal intelligence and law enforcement agencies. Today, the National Park Service Investigative Service Branch serves as the primary criminal investigative and law enforcement support arm for the National Park System. The ISB special agents help investigate crimes such as violence, property crimes, and resource violations to protect the park resources, visitors, employees, and assets. Hopefully, today's episode has inspired you to seek out and learn more about this subject. For answers to questions, the sources for this episode, to leave a comment, or check out upcoming guest announcements, visit www.historyshortspodcast.com or look for History Shorts Podcast on Facebook and X. Stay curious, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.